This throw right here told me everything I need to know about Bryce Young.
The one-on-one opportunity, it's caught by Coker.
There were a lot of plays in that football game that told me, or I should say reinforced to me, that Bryce Young is the franchise quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. The touchdown to Tedero McMillan, the game winner or the sealer to Jalen Coker. But that right there, that 4th and 3 touchdown, one-on-one opportunity to Jalen Coker, just the balls to have a throw like that. It looked like somebody else was open, middle of the field. I just think Bryce Young's a gamer, and this Panthers team, it still feels like they're a year away, but they're 7-6, and you're taking down the Los Angeles Rams. You took down my Green Bay Packers, and it is such a chaotic season. You've lost to the Arizona Cardinals. You've lost to the New Orleans Saints, but those 3 wins, Dallas, Green Bay, Los Angeles, those are all 3 playoff teams. Those are all 3 above 500 teams at the very least. So before that stretch of playoff wins, they've only had 1 victory with Bryce Young at quarterback against teams that ultimately finished above 500. So Carolina's winning big games. You would have never expected Carolina won that football game the way they did. I mean, it's crazy. Hindsight 2020, the NFL media world, it moves extremely quickly. Like, okay, 1 week Matt Stafford is, clearly the MVP, and now it's like, okay, Matt Stafford's got some holes, he's got some flaws, age, maybe the Rams aren't as good as possible, and it's just, it's funny how much Carolina does this. Whether it was my Packers, we were sitting here thinking, is Matt LaFleur going to get fired, and now you've got Matt Stafford and the Rams look beatable. This Carolina team has just been so crazy, and you won that in true fashion. Dave Canales fashion, Pete Carroll coaching tree, Pete Carroll disciple. They ran the football 40 times. 35 of them were for running backs. Bryce Young only threw the football 20 times, 15 to 20, but we had 35, 33, and 43-yard gains. You also had a defensive pick 6 from Mike Jackson that helped. Bryce Young looked really good on 3rd down. That was what, whether it was the 4th downs or the 3rd downs, he looked very decisive, right? I love to see that, just decisiveness. So Bryce Young on 3rd down, 6 of 8, 86 yards and a touchdown in those situations. And his 3rd down pass rating, 149, was the best of his career. So like I'm saying, I still think this team's a year away. I'm positive, and Panthers fans, if you're watching this video, let me know down below. I'm positive if I told you this Carolina team was actually going to make the playoffs, I think most Panthers fans would be happy with that outcome. And then maybe in the offseason, you start taking a look at the defense. You start taking a look at, okay, maybe we could use another wide receiver. Maybe Xavier Legette didn't work out. Maybe Jalen Coker in the last 4 or 5 games of the season just goes off and turns into what a lot of Panthers fans were hoping from him in the offseason, but injuries have kind of derailed that. He looked phenomenal. 4 catches, 74 yards, touchdown, game winning. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But folks, welcome back to the channel. We're hyping up the Carolina Panthers tonight, so hit that like button, hit that hype button if you wouldn't mind. I guess that's a real algorithm changer. Subscribe as always. We're getting closer and closer to 100K, and for better or worse, man, we're always talking about Bryce Young and these Carolina Panthers. So 33-yard touchdown gave him a 24-21 advantage. Tedero McMillan, 43-yard touchdown on 4th and 2 for the go-ahead score in the 4th quarter. And then on the next possession, you get Young to Coker for a 10-yard gain on 3rd and 5 to just let this Panthers team run out the clock. And then, of course, the Derek Brown strip sack forced fumble. The defense gets that stop. You know what's interesting? A quick side tangent. When you look at, like, the team statistics, it's crazy. The defense is currently pretty much around average in most categories, which is a huge step up from last season. They were 16th in scoring right now. They're 16th in passing. They're 19th in rushing. Not doing great at getting to the quarterback. Only 18 sacks, which is second to last in the NFL this season. But, you got Nick Scorton, you got Princely Emmanuel, and you got some young rookies on that defensive line. But what I do like is 1.3 takeaways per game. That is top 10 in the NFL. But offensively, here's what's so funny. You're 19 points per game. That's 27th in the NFL in scoring. They're 25th in passing. Outside of like that Atlanta game and Arizona early on in the season, they haven't made Bryce Young even throw the football too much. like we mentioned a few minutes ago, 15 to 20, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. No one's saying that's a bad game for Bryce Young. It might have been the best of his entire NFL career, just given the circumstances and given, just the implications of that football game. But like we were saying, whether it was the Dallas win or more specifically Green Bay and on Sunday against the Rams, you guys just run the ball, keep it moving, these long sustaining drives. It really pisses you off if you're watching from a defensive side. That whole Panthers-Packers upset win, I'm watching it and it's just frustrating because it's what Dave Canales wanted to do. They wanted to control the time of possession. They want to keep the chains moving. They want to keep the opposing defense guessing. They want to keep them gassed, and they just want to throw off the ebb and flow of whoever the quarterback is and whoever the offense is. And Jordan Love and my Green Bay Packers, the ebb and flow certainly was not there. But 8th in rushing, it's been a huge difference. Whether it's Chuba Hubbard, whether it's Rico Dowdle, these Panthers running backs have done such a great job. So when there's a will, there's a way, and just that defense, man, Matt Stafford, a couple of interceptions. So Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, you're missing 3 defensive starters and another contributor heading into that game. I forget what the initial betting score was, but I know it was over 10. I think the over-under or the line was 10.5 in Los Angeles' favor. And on paper and in the betting markets, every metric told you it's Los Angeles. But Carolina's defense, it's crazy. Intercepting Matt Stafford twice. He set a Rams record on the opening drive with his 28th straight touchdown pass without an interception. Pivotal, game-clinching, game-winning Derek Brown strip sack. Mike Jackson returned to the second interception for 48 yards and a pick 6. That Brown fumble was just massive. DJ Wanham recovered it. And so now I want to talk a little bit of playoffs because I think it was Rico Dowdle who was saying we kind of control our own destiny. So Carolina is one of the few teams to have a Week 16 bye. So Carolina's not playing any football this weekend. You've got 2 matchups against Tampa. You've got 1 against Seattle. And then your next matchup is against the New Orleans Saints. So basically, the Panthers can win the NFC South if they defeat Tampa in both Week 16 and 18, and then you either beat the New Orleans Saints or the Seattle Seahawks, probably more so New Orleans as opposed to Seattle, you're in the playoffs. That gets you to 10-7, and Tampa cannot finish better than 10-7 in that scenario. So you take the division in a head-to-head tiebreaker. Now, according to the NFL or the Athletics NFL Playoff Simulator, the Panthers have a 46% chance to make the playoffs if they split with Tampa, but defeat the Saints and Seahawks. Assuming a split with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Panthers' playoff chances drop to 9% if they beat New Orleans but lose to Seattle, and it dips down to 5% if they fall to New Orleans but defeat Seattle. So the point just here is you got to go at minimum 3-1. All right, you got to win 3 of these 4 final football games. But if you can beat Tampa twice and then just beat the Saints or the Seahawks, Carolina's in the playoffs. All right, so we're talking playoff football, Week 14. That's a success to me for this Carolina Panthers season. So, folks, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, and let me know. Are the Carolina Panthers making the playoffs? We'll see you soon. Peace.